The grand hall of Zenith Prime Station stretched so high that clouds formed near its ceiling. Thousands of beings from across the galaxy filled the massive space, their voices creating a sound like ocean waves. Floating platforms held the most important guests, while holographic displays showed the ceremony to billions watching from distant worlds. Day wiped grease off his hands and looked around nervously. This was definitely not where he was supposed to be. 10 minutes ago, he had been running through the station corridors trying to find security. Pirates had chased him through 3 star systems, and his cargo ship barely made it to Zenith Prime with its engines on fire. He just wanted to file a report and maybe get his ship fixed. Instead, he had walked through the wrong door and ended up here. The crowd suddenly went silent. Day looked up and his breath caught in his throat. A woman floated down from the upper levels, and she was the most beautiful and terrifying thing he had ever seen. Her skin was pale like starlight, and her long black hair moved as if underwater. She wore a dress that seemed to be made of liquid silver and shadows, but her eyes were what made Day freeze. They glowed red like dying suns, and when she looked across the crowd, he felt like she could see through his skin and bones right into his soul. "That is Princess Nari," someone whispered nearby. "Last daughter of the Starborn Imperium." Day had heard stories about the Starborn. They were one of the oldest races in the galaxy, existing millions of years before humans even discovered fire. They fed on the energy of stars and could cross space without ships. Most species feared them. Some worshipped them. Princess Nari landed on the central platform with impossible grace. Around her stood what looked like the champions of 100 different species. There was a massive creature covered in blue scales that must have been 3 meters tall. Next to it stood a being made of living crystal that refracted light in rainbow patterns. There were warriors in advanced armor, telepaths with enormous heads, and bioengineered super soldiers with perfect features. An old alien with purple skin and too many arms stepped forward. His voice boomed through the hall without any microphone. "We gather today for the selection. Princess Nari of the Starborn Imperium will choose her consort. This choice will bind 2 bloodlines and forge an alliance that cannot be broken. Let all present witness and honor her decision." The crowd pressed forward. Day tried to move toward the exit, but too many bodies blocked his way. He was stuck. Princess Nari walked slowly along the line of champions. Each one stood straighter as she approached, trying to look impressive. The blue-scaled warrior flexed muscles that could probably crush steel. The crystal being made itself shine brighter. A telepathic champion with silver skin closed his eyes and projected images of his achievements directly into everyone's minds. Nari stopped in front of each one. Sometimes she would tilt her head as if listening to something only she could hear. Other times she would reach out with one pale hand and almost touch them before moving on. The tension in the hall grew thicker with each rejection. Ambassadors watched nervously from their platforms. This choice would change galactic politics for generations. Day finally found a gap in the crowd and started pushing through. He had cargo to deliver, a ship to fix, and he definitely did not belong at some ancient alien ceremony. He made it about 5 meters before someone stepped on his foot. He yelped and stumbled sideways, knocking into a serving robot. The robot beeped angrily and dropped a tray of drinks. The crash echoed through the silent hall. Every eye turned toward him. Day felt his face burn red. "Sorry," he mumbled. "Sorry, I will just go and—" Princess Nari's head snapped toward him. Her red eyes locked onto his brown ones. Day froze like a deer in headlights. He could not move, could not breathe, could not think. It felt like she was looking through time itself, seeing every moment of his past and every possibility of his future. She moved toward him. The crowd parted instantly, creating a path. Champions who had waited decades for this moment watched in confusion as the princess walked past them all. She stopped directly in front of Day, so close he could feel the cold energy radiating from her skin. "What is your name?" Her voice was soft but carried through the entire hall. "Day," he managed to say. "I'm just a cargo pilot. I am not supposed to be here." "Wrong door." "Big mistake," she smiled. It was not a warm smile. It was the smile of a predator that had just found interesting prey. "Day," she repeated, testing his name. Then she raised one hand and pointed directly at his chest. "I choose this one." The hall exploded into chaos. Ambassadors shouted in disbelief. The champions on the platform looked confused, then angry. The old purple alien tried to restore order, but his voice was drowned out. Day stood frozen while Princess Nari continued to stare at him with those burning red eyes. "This is impossible," someone shouted. "He is human." They barely qualify as sentient. The princess must be mistaken. Humans are primitives. They only achieved faster than light travel 2 generations ago. This is an insult to the Galactic Council. Guards rushed forward and grabbed Day's arms. He did not resist because his brain still had not processed what just happened. As they dragged him toward a side door, he looked back at Princess Nari. She had not moved. She stood in the center of the platform, ignoring the chaos around her, watching him with those impossible eyes. Just before the guards pulled him through the door, he heard her voice in his head. It was impossible because humans were not telepathic, but he heard it anyway, clear as crystal. You burn brighter than stars, Day of Earth. Now let us see if you can survive the fire. Then the door slammed shut and Day was dragged down a corridor toward an uncertain fate. Behind him, the selection ceremony dissolved into political disaster. The princess had made her choice. By ancient law, it could not be changed. A human had just become the most important person in the galaxy, and he did not even know why. In the grand hall, Princess Nari smiled again. For the first time in 1,000 years, she felt genuinely curious about the future. This human was different. She could sense it in his life force, in the chaotic energy that humans carried like a storm. Her species was dying of perfection. Perhaps what they needed was a little chaos. The galaxy would never be the same. The guards threw Day into a room and locked the door behind him. He stumbled forward, caught himself on a piece of furniture, and looked around. For a prison cell, it was surprisingly nice. The room was huge, with a bed that could fit 5 people, windows showing the stars outside, and furniture that looked like it cost more than his entire spaceship. He walked to the window and pressed his forehead against the cool glass. Outside, Zenith Prime Station orbited a blue star. Hundreds of ships came and went, tiny dots of light carrying people and cargo across the galaxy. Somewhere out there was Earth, his home planet, where people had no idea that one of their own had just become the center of a galactic incident. "They will kill me," he said to his reflection. "They will definitely kill me." The door opened. Day spun around, ready to fight or run or both. Princess Nari walked in like she owned the place, which technically she probably did. She closed the door behind her and studied him with those glowing red eyes. "You are not what I expected," she said. "Yeah, well, you are not what I expected either." Day shot back. "What did you expect? Why did you point at me?" Nari moved to the window and looked out at the stars. In the starlight, her pale skin seemed to glow. "My people are dying," she said simply. "We have existed for millions of years, but our birth rate drops every century. We are too perfect, too specialized. Evolution has stopped for us. Without change, we will fade away like so many elder races before us." "What does that have to do with me?" She turned to face him. "Starborn vampires do not feed on blood like the stories say. We feed on stellar radiation and life force energy. Every living thing produces this energy, but most beings are like small candles. You can sense them, but they do not really shine." She stepped closer. "But you, Day of Earth, you burn like a sun. I have never felt life force like yours." Day backed up until he hit the wall. "That is crazy. I am just a normal guy. I haul cargo. I eat instant noodles. I am not special." "You are human," Nari said, as if that explained everything. "Tell me about Earth." "What?" "Tell me about your home world." "I want to understand." Day did not know why he obeyed. Maybe it was because she was terrifying and beautiful. Maybe it was because he was trapped in a room with no escape. Or maybe deep down he wanted someone to understand where he came from. So he talked. He told her about Earth, the small blue planet in an unremarkable star system. He explained how humans had survived ice ages that should have killed them. How they lived through plagues that wiped out half their population. How they fought wars so terrible that entire cities vanished in fire. How they nearly destroyed themselves with weapons of mass destruction. "We are not the strongest," Day said. "There are species that can crush us with one hand. We are not the smartest either. But we refuse to quit. Even when everything says we should give up and die, humans keep going. It is probably stupidity more than bravery, but it works." Nari listened without interrupting. When he finished, she nodded slowly. "Yes, that is what I sensed in you. That stubborn fire that refuses to go out." She looked out the window again. "My people have forgotten how to fight for survival. We have lived so long that we take existence for granted. Perhaps that is why we are dying." Before Day could respond, alarms screamed through the station. Red lights flashed in the corridor outside. Nari's head snapped up, her eyes glowing brighter. "Stay here," she commanded and rushed to the door. "Wait, what is happening?" But she was already gone. The door locked behind her with a heavy click. Day ran to the window but could not see anything wrong. The station looked normal. Ships still came and went, but the alarms continued to wail. He waited 5 minutes. Then 10, then 15. The alarm stopped, but Nari did not return. Day paced the room like a caged animal. He hated being trapped, hated not knowing what was happening. The door suddenly exploded inward. Day dove behind the bed as debris filled the room. Through the smoke, he saw 3 figures enter. They wore black armor and carried weapons that hummed with energy. He could not see their faces behind dark helmets. "Target located," one said in a voice that was translated by his universal chip. "Terminate the human." Day's mind went blank with fear for a moment. Then training kicked in. Before becoming a cargo pilot, he had served 2 years in Earth's Defense Force. It was mandatory service, something every human did. They taught him how to fight, how to survive, how to kill if necessary. He grabbed the first thing his hand touched, a metal lamp from the bedside table. As the first assassin came around the bed, Day swung with all his strength. The lamp crashed into the helmet with a satisfying crunch. The assassin staggered back. The second one fired. A bolt of energy missed Day by centimeters and burned a hole in the wall. Day threw the lamp at the shooter and ran. Not away from them, but toward them. It was what his instructors taught him. Surprise was a weapon. Do what the enemy does not expect. He crashed into the second assassin before they could fire again. They fell together, wrestling on the floor. The alien was stronger, but Day fought dirty. He bit, scratched, gouged at the helmet seals. The alien threw him off with a roar. The third assassin aimed carefully, waiting for a clear shot. Day grabbed a chair and threw it. The assassin dodged, but it gave Day time to reach the broken door. He ran into the corridor without looking back. Energy bolts chased him. One burned his shoulder and he screamed but kept running. The station was a maze of corridors, but Day had grown up in cramped ships and stations. He knew how artificial environments worked. He found a maintenance hatch, ripped it open, and squeezed inside. The assassins followed. In the narrow maintenance tunnel, their size became a disadvantage. Day crawled fast through the darkness, taking random turns. He heard them behind him, cursing in languages his translator could not understand. He found a vertical shaft and climbed down. His burned shoulder screamed in pain, but he forced himself to keep moving. Down, down, down into the station's lower levels where the life support machines hummed and water pipes dripped. Finally, he stopped in a dark corner and tried to catch his breath. Blood from his shoulder made his shirt stick to his skin. His hands shook from adrenaline. He listened but heard nothing except machinery. For a long moment, he sat in the darkness and tried not to panic. Someone had sent assassins to kill him. Professional killers with advanced weapons and armor, and he had survived by hitting them with furniture and running away. "Okay," he whispered to himself. "Okay, you are alive. You are alive. Now figure out what to do next." He needed to find Nari, or security, or anyone who could help. But could he trust station security? If assassins could get to him so easily, maybe security was compromised. Maybe the whole station was against him. The sound of footsteps made him freeze. Someone was coming through the maintenance area. Day grabbed a pipe wrench from a nearby toolbox and raised it like a weapon. The footsteps got closer. A shadow appeared around the corner. "Day?" It was Nari's voice. "Dee, where are you?" He almost cried with relief. "Here, I am here." She found him in seconds, moving through the darkness like she could see perfectly. When she saw his burned shoulder and the blood, her eyes flashed dangerously. "Who did this?" "Assassins." "3 of them. They tried to kill me." Nari knelt beside him and touched his shoulder. Her hand was cold but gentle. "The burns are not deep. You will survive." She looked into his eyes. "You defeated 3 trained killers with no weapons? I ran away mostly. You survived. That is what matters." She helped him to his feet. "There is a conspiracy, Day. Ambassadors who fear what our alliance could mean. They are trying to eliminate you before the bonding ceremony can take place." "Great. Just great." Day leaned against the wall. "So what do we do?" Nari smiled her predator smile. "We show them why it was a mistake to threaten what is mine." Despite everything, Day felt a strange thrill at those words. What is mine? He was too tired and hurt to analyze why that made him feel safe instead of scared. Together, they moved through the maintenance tunnels toward safety, though Day suspected safety was a relative term now. He had survived the first attempt on his life, but something told him it would not be the last. 3 days after the assassination attempt, Day stood in front of the Galactic Council. His shoulder still hurt, but Starborn medicine had healed the worst of the burns. Around him, representatives from dozens of species sat in a circular chamber that seemed to float in space. Holographic projections made it look like they were surrounded by stars. The purple alien with too many arms stood at the center. His name was Council Speaker Tal, and he did not look happy. "The selection has been contested," he announced. Multiple ambassadors questioned Princess Nari's choice. They invoked the ancient right of the trials of worth. Nari stood beside Day. She had not left his side since the attack. "The trials are unnecessary. My choice stands." "Ancient law is clear," said a reptilian ambassador. "If 3 or more council members contest the selection, the chosen consort must prove their worth. The trials will proceed." Day felt his stomach sink. "What kind of trials?" 3 challenges, Speaker Tal explained, each designed by the objecting parties. "You must face them alone. Princess Nari cannot help you. If you fail even one trial, the selection is void and another ceremony must be held." "And if I die during these trials?" Day asked. The chamber went silent. Finally, Tal spoke. "Then you are unworthy." Nari's hand found his. Her skin was cold, but her grip was strong. "You do not have to do this," she whispered. "I can refuse the trials. We can find another way." Day looked at her glowing red eyes. In 3 days, he had learned that she was not just beautiful and terrifying. She was also lonely, curious, and desperate to save her dying species. She had chosen him for reasons he still did not fully understand, but he believed she had chosen honestly. "I will do it," he said. "But when I pass these trials, everyone here will owe me an apology." Some ambassadors laughed. Others looked offended. Day did not care. He was tired of being treated like he was worthless just because he was human. The first trial began immediately. They took Day to an airlock on the station's outer ring. Through the window, he could see open space stretching forever. A second airlock floated exactly 100 meters away, connected by nothing but vacuum. "The Void Walk," Speaker Tal announced. "Most species die instantly in hard vacuum. You must cross from this airlock to that one. You have 10 minutes before we retrieve your body." "This is murder," Nari said coldly. "It is a trial," the reptilian ambassador replied. "If humans are as resilient as they claim, he will survive." They gave Day a small oxygen mask that covered only his mouth and nose. Nothing else. No suit, no protection. When he looked at the scientists monitoring the trial, they had the expression of people about to watch something die. Day took deep breaths, forcing his heart to slow down. He remembered emergency training from his Defense Force days. Humans could survive brief exposure to vacuum. Brief being the key word. 30 seconds, maybe 60 if you were lucky. The moisture in your eyes would boil. Your blood would not boil like in movies, but gases in your body would expand painfully. You would pass out quickly from lack of oxygen. 100 meters. How fast could he move in zero gravity? "Ready?" a technician asked. "No," Day said honestly. "Do it anyway." The inner airlock door closed. The outer door began to open. Air rushed out with a sound like a scream. Then silence. Total, absolute silence. Sound did not travel in vacuum. Day pushed off hard with his legs. The momentum sent him flying toward the distant airlock. Immediately, he felt the pressure change. His ears popped painfully. The moisture on his eyes began to boil, turning his vision blurry. His skin felt like it was being stabbed with thousands of needles. He kept his mouth clenched shut on the oxygen mask. "Do not exhale. If you exhale, your lungs will collapse. Keep the air in. Keep moving. Do not think about the pain." The vacuum tried to pull gases from his blood. His stomach expanded. The pain was incredible, like being crushed and stretched at the same time. His vision started to go dark at the edges, halfway there. "Keep going. Do not pass out. If you pass out, you die." His frozen fingers reached out. The airlock was close, so close. His chest felt like it would explode. Every cell in his body screamed for relief. The darkness at the edges of his vision grew wider. His hand hit the airlock door. He could barely feel it. His frozen fingers tried to grip the handle, missed, tried again. Caught it, pulled. The door swung open. Air rushed in. Day fell through and collapsed on the floor, gasping. His whole body shook. Blood ran from his nose. His eyes felt like someone had poured sand in them. But he was alive. Medical staff rushed in. They scanned him with instruments, looking shocked. His lung capacity is remarkable, one said, and his blood retains oxygen better than most species. How is this possible? Humans evolved on a harsh world, another replied. They had to adapt to survive in hostile conditions. Day could barely hear them through the ringing in his ears. He had passed the first trial. 2 more to go. The second trial happened the next day, after doctors confirmed he would not die from the void exposure. They brought him to a white room that was completely empty except for a silver sphere floating in the center. The logic labyrinth, Speaker Tal announced. This is a psychic construct created by our finest mind weavers. Enter the sphere and navigate the maze within. Find the exit. Most species complete it in 3 hours. A few take 5. If you have not escaped in 8 hours, you will be removed and considered failed. Day touched the sphere. It felt warm and seemed to pulse with energy. Any advice? Nari had been forbidden from attending, but she had sent him a message that morning. Trust your instincts. Do not think like they do. He pressed his hand fully against the sphere. The white room vanished. Suddenly he stood in a maze made of light and impossible geometry. Walls shifted and changed. Paths led up and down in ways that defied physics. In the distance he could hear something like music, but it was mathematics made into sound. Day started walking. Every few steps the maze presented puzzles. Mathematical equations, logic problems, pattern recognition tests. Most were designed for species with different brain structures. Questions about telepathic resonance frequencies. Problems requiring multiple simultaneous thought processes. He failed most of them, but instead of stopping, he just kept walking. When the maze blocked his path, he looked for alternate routes. When puzzles appeared, he either solved them quickly or ignored them completely. The maze tried to force him into specific patterns of thinking. It wanted him to solve problems in certain ways. But Day had spent his life working around broken equipment and making cargo deliveries with incomplete information. He was good at finding shortcuts. 4 hours in, he realized something. The maze was designed for species that thought logically or instinctually. Humans did both and neither. Human brains were messy, running on pattern recognition, emotional associations, and creative leaps that looked like madness to pure logic. He stopped trying to solve the maze properly. Instead, he started making random choices. Turn left because he liked left. Go up because why not? Choose paths that felt wrong. The maze became confused. It kept presenting harder puzzles, but Day ignored them. He hummed songs from Earth to keep himself company. He thought about what he would eat for dinner. He let his mind wander. In 5 hours and 17 minutes, he stumbled through the exit. The mind weavers monitoring the trial looked disturbed. That should not have worked, one whispered. He barely solved any puzzles. Human cognition is non-standard, another replied. The maze could not predict his choices because he was not following logic or instinct. He was following chaos. Day did not care how he won. He had passed trial 2. 1 more to go. The third trial was single combat. They brought Day to an arena where thousands watched from protected seats. Across the sand floor he saw his opponent. Veltar, champion of the Kareth Empire, stood 3 meters tall. His blue scales looked like armor. His claws could probably rip through steel. Bioelectric energy sparked between his teeth. This is not a fight, Day said to Speaker Tal. This is an execution. You may forfeit, Tal replied. Day looked up at the stands. Somewhere up there, Nari was watching. He could feel her eyes on him even if he could not see her. He thought about everything she had told him. About her dying species, about seeing something special in humans, about choosing him. Give me a weapon, he said. They gave him a simple combat staff. Veltar laughed, a sound like grinding rocks. The human wants to die with honor. Admirable, but pointless. The fight began with a horn blast. Veltar charged immediately, moving faster than something that big should be able to move. Day dove to the side and rolled. The champion's claws tore through the sand where he had been standing. Day swung his staff at the champion's leg. It connected with a solid thud, but might as well have been hitting a mountain. Veltar did not even flinch. He backhanded Day, sending him flying 5 meters. Day hit the ground hard, tasting blood. Get up. Get up or die. Day forced himself to his feet. Veltar stalked toward him, taking his time. You are brave, human, but bravery means nothing against superior strength. That was when Day stopped trying to fight with honor. He kicked sand into Veltar's eyes. The champion roared and stumbled back. Day used the moment to strike at the joints in Veltar's scales. the places where armor plates met. He was not strong enough to hurt the champion, but he could annoy him. After the trials, Nari insisted that Day rest for 3 full days. Starborn medical technology was incredible, but even it had limits when healing human bodies that had been through vacuum exposure, psychic mazes, and fights with alien champions. Day spent most of the time sleeping in the luxury suite, waking up only to eat and wonder how his life had become so strange. On the 4th day, Nari came to him with a serious expression. "Walk with me," she said. "There are things you need to understand before the bonding ceremony." They left the suite and wandered through Zenith Prime's garden levels. These floors were covered in plants from hundreds of worlds, creating a forest inside the station. Artificial sunlight streamed through transparent ceilings. The air smelled like flowers Day had no names for. "Tell me about the Starborn," Day said. "Really tell me. Not the stories everyone knows, but the truth." Nari walked in silence for a while, her silver dress trailing on the ground behind her. When she spoke, her voice was soft and sad. "My species evolved near the cores of stars. We fed on stellar radiation, bathing in energies that would destroy most life. We lived for thousands of years. We could cross space with thought alone. We built an empire that stretched across galaxies. Sounds pretty good to me." "It was," Nari agreed. "For millions of years we were gods. But gods have a problem, Day. They stop changing. They become perfect, and perfection is a prison." She stopped beside a pool of clear water. Her reflection looked back at her with those glowing red eyes. "Our birth rate began to decline 10,000 years ago. At first we did not notice. When you live forever, time moves differently. But gradually we realized the truth. We were dying out. Why?" Day asked. "Evolution requires pressure, change, adversity. We had none of those things. We became too specialized, too perfect for our specific environment. Our genetic code stopped adapting. Each generation was an exact copy of the last. We lost the ability to change." She turned to face him. "Do you know what humans call that?" "Genetic stagnation. In nature, it is the beginning of the end." Day sat on a bench near the pool. "So you need genetic diversity. New blood, literally. Yes, but it is more complicated than that. We tried breeding with other species. It never worked. Our biology is too different, too specialized. The genetic material simply would not combine." She sat beside him. "Then I sensed you at the selection ceremony." "What exactly did you sense?" Nari reached out and placed her hand over his heart. Through his shirt he could feel how cold her skin was. Life force. Every living thing produces it, but most species produce a steady, predictable flame. Yours burns like a wildfire, Day. Chaotic, unpredictable, dangerous. I have never felt anything like it. Is that good or bad? "I do not know yet," she admitted. "But I know it is different. And different is what we need." She pulled her hand back. "Human genetic code is chaos incarnate. You interbred with other human species that no longer exist. You survived genetic bottlenecks that should have destroyed you. Your DNA is filled with viral remnants, broken genes, and redundant systems. By all logic, humans should not work. But you do," Day laughed. "That is the nicest way anyone has ever called humans a genetic mess. It is not an insult. It is a compliment." Nari smiled slightly. "You are evolution's wild card, Day. Where my species became too perfect, yours remained beautifully imperfect. You kept the ability to adapt, to change, to survive." "So what happens at the bonding ceremony?" Day asked. "Everyone keeps talking about it, but nobody explains what it actually is." Nari's expression became serious. "It is not just a political alliance. It is a biological merge. Starborn bonding connects two life forces at a fundamental level. We share energy, memories, even parts of our genetic code. It is how my species used to increase diversity, back when we still could." "Wait, genetic code? You mean like DNA?" "Similar, yes. The bonding would combine aspects of your human biology with my starborn nature. If successful, it could create something new. A hybrid. The first step toward saving my species from extinction." She paused. "But Day, you need to understand. This has never been attempted between such different species. The bonding might fail. It might kill us both." Day felt his mouth go dry. "You did not mention that before. Would you have agreed to the trials if I had?" "Probably not," he admitted. "But I did agree. I passed your trials. I survived assassins and vacuum and mind mazes and giant lizard warriors. I am not going to back out now because of some risk. The risk is death. Everything worth doing has that risk." Day stood and looked at his reflection in the pool. He looked tired. Scars from the trials were still healing, but his eyes were clear. I am going to tell you something about humans. We are really good at doing stupid, dangerous things for people we care about. It is kind of our specialty. You care about me? Nari sounded surprised. We have known each other less than 2 weeks. Yeah, well, when someone chooses you out of an entire galaxy of perfect champions, it makes an impression. Day turned to face her. Plus, you have been honest with me. You have not treated me like I am worthless just because I am human. That means something. Nari stood slowly. For a moment, she looked vulnerable in a way that her usual predator grace hid. My people think I am desperate. They think I chose you because I had no better options. But that is not true. I chose you because when I looked into your life force, I saw something we lost millions of years ago. I saw the will to survive no matter what. I saw fire that refuses to be extinguished. No pressure or anything, Day joked weakly. I am sorry. This is unfair to you. You did not ask for any of this. Life is not fair. I learned that when I was 6 and my dad's ship got destroyed by raiders. My mom raised me alone on a station where humans were treated like cheap labor. I joined the defense force because it was the only way to pay for education. I became a cargo pilot because it was the only job I could get. He stepped closer to her. Nothing about my life has been fair, Nari. But I am still here. Humans are good at surviving unfair situations. She reached up and touched his face with one cold hand. You really are remarkable. I am really just stubborn. Perhaps that is the same thing. They stood in silence for a while, surrounded by alien flowers and artificial sunlight. Finally, Day asked the question that had been bothering him. What happens if the bonding works? What will I become? I do not know, Nari said honestly. The bonding would give you access to some of my abilities. Extended lifespan, perhaps. Enhanced strength. Possibly some psychic sensitivity. But it would also change your fundamental nature. You would not be fully human anymore. And you? What would you become? Something new, she said softly. The bonding works both ways. I would gain aspects of your human nature. Your adaptability, your chaos, your stubborn refusal to accept defeat. She smiled. I might actually become imperfect. The thought terrifies and excites me equally. Day thought about it. His normal life had ended the moment he walked through the wrong door. There was no going back to simple cargo runs and instant noodles. The galaxy had seen him and it would not forget. Some ambassadors wanted him dead. Others wanted to use him. But Nari had chosen him, and she was offering something no human had ever experienced. Okay, he said. I am in. Let us do this bonding ceremony and see what happens. Worst case, we die trying. Best case, we save your species and I get to be part of something important. You are already part of something important, Nari said. You proved that humans deserve respect. You passed trials designed to kill you. You survived assassination attempts. You changed galactic politics by simply existing. I guess I did do that, didn't I? Dee grinned. My mom is going to freak out when she hears about this. Your mother is still alive? Yeah, she runs a repair shop on Europa Station. I should probably call her before we do this bonding thing. In case you know I die, Nari's expression became fierce. You will not die. I will not allow it. I did not search the galaxy for someone like you just to lose you now. Her possessiveness should probably have worried him. Instead, it made Day feel safer than he had in years. Someone actually cared whether he lived or died. Someone powerful and ancient and terrifying had decided he was worth protecting. When is the ceremony? He asked. 3 days. The council is still trying to delay it, but ancient law is on our side. They cannot stop it without breaking their own rules. 3 days, Day repeated. Okay. That gives me time to contact my mom, get my affairs in order, and have a minor panic attack about bonding with a vampire princess. I am not a vampire. You glow in the dark, have red eyes, and feed on life energy. Close enough, Nari laughed. It was the first time Day had heard her really laugh, not just smile. The sound was beautiful and strange, like music from another world. Perhaps you are right. Perhaps I am a vampire, and you are my chosen prey. That is either really romantic or really creepy. Why not both? They walked back through the gardens together, and Day realized that despite everything, despite the fear and danger and uncertainty, he felt more alive than ever. He was about to bond with an alien princess, potentially save an ancient species and either make history or die trying. It was definitely better than hauling cargo. 2 days before the bonding ceremony, Day woke up to the sound of alarms. Not the loud emergency kind, but soft warning chimes that meant something was wrong with the station systems. He had grown up on stations and ships. You learned to recognize different alarm patterns the way people recognized music. This pattern meant power fluctuations. He got out of bed and checked the room's control panel. The display showed normal readings, but his instinct said otherwise. Power fluctuations on a station this advanced should not happen. Zenith Prime had redundant systems, backup generators, and technology that most species could only dream about. Random power problems did not just occur. Day pulled on his clothes and left the suite. The corridors were busy with normal traffic. Nobody else seemed concerned. Maybe he was being paranoid. Assassination attempts and deadly trials could do that to a person. He wandered toward the station's observation deck, a massive dome where visitors could watch ships come and go. As he walked, he paid attention to details. Lights flickered occasionally. Ventilation sounded different, like fans working harder than normal. The gravity felt slightly wrong, just a fraction too light. On the observation deck, he found a quiet corner and pulled out his portable terminal. If something was wrong with station power, there would be traces in the system logs. He was just a cargo pilot, but cargo pilots learned basic station engineering out of necessity. When you were 3 weeks from the nearest port with a malfunctioning life support system, you either learned to fix things or you died. He hacked into the public station network. It was not even hard. Most people did not bother securing local systems because why would anyone bother? He started checking power distribution logs, looking for anything unusual. There, a pattern. Every 6 hours there was a tiny power drain that lasted exactly 43 seconds. It had been happening for 5 days since right after his trials ended. The drain was small enough that automated systems ignored it, but it was consistent, too consistent to be natural. Day cross-referenced the drain location. It was in the lower engineering sections, an area that most visitors never saw. He took a screenshot of the data and sent it to himself as a backup. Then he sent it to Nari with a message. Found something weird. Checking it out. He should have waited for her response. He should have contacted security. But security might be compromised, and Nari was in meetings with council ambassadors. Besides, it was probably nothing. Just a malfunctioning power relay or something mundane. The lower engineering levels were hot and loud. Massive machines hummed with energy, converting the station's fusion cores into usable power. Coolant pipes dripped condensation. Warning signs in a dozen languages told visitors to stay out without proper authorization. Day ignored the signs. He followed his terminal's map toward the power drain location. The deeper he went, the fewer people he saw. Eventually, he was alone except for maintenance robots that ignored him. He found the source in a secondary power junction. Someone had attached a device to the main conduit. It was about the size of a backpack, covered in alien technology that Day did not recognize, but he recognized what it was doing. The device was slowly building up a charge, storing energy stolen from the station's power grid. Why would someone do that? Day's blood went cold. This was not a malfunction. This was sabotage. Someone was building a bomb. He pulled out his terminal to call Nari, but before he could, something hard pressed against the back of his head. A weapon. "Step away from the device, human," said a voice he recognized. It was Krath, the Kreth Empire ambassador. Slowly, Day raised his hands and turned around carefully. Krath stood there with an energy pistol aimed at Day's face. Behind him were 4 armed guards, all wearing Kareth military uniforms. "Ambassador," Day said, trying to keep his voice steady. "This is a stellar disruptor, is it not? You are planning to destroy the station." "Very observant," Krath said with a smile that showed too many teeth. "The device will overload during your bonding ceremony. Everyone in the upper levels will die instantly. The explosion will be blamed on human incompetence, of course. Poor primitive Day, playing with technology he did not understand. You cannot be serious. Thousands of people will die. A necessary sacrifice. Do you know what your bonding with Princess Nari represents? It means humans gain access to Starborn technology and knowledge. Within a generation, humans would spread across the galaxy like a plague. Your species is too aggressive, too adaptable, too dangerous. We cannot allow it." Day's mind raced. He needed time. "So you kill everyone just to stop one alliance? That is insane, is it? The Kareth Empire and our allies have maintained galactic order for centuries. We decide which species advance and which remain contained. Humans must be contained. Krath gestured with the pistol. But first you will record a message confessing to planting the bomb. A human terrorist jealous of species more advanced than his own. Nobody will believe that. They will believe what we tell them to believe. Now move. They forced Day down a different corridor at gunpoint. He looked for opportunities to escape, but the guards were professionals. They kept their distance, weapons trained on him constantly. Even if he tried something, he would die before getting close. They brought him to a small room filled with recording equipment. Krath handed him a script written in English. "Read this." Make it convincing. Day glanced at the script. It was exactly what Krath described, a confession to terrorism. If he recorded this, his death would be meaningless. Worse, it would damage humanity's reputation throughout the galaxy. "No," he said simply. Krath hit him across the face with the pistol. Pain exploded through Day's jaw. He tasted blood. "You will read it or I will make your death very slow." Still no. Another hit. Day fell to his knees. The room spun. He had been hit before during the trials, but this was worse. Krath was not trying to win a fair fight. He was just trying to break Day's will. Through the pain, Day heard a sound. A soft chime from his terminal. Nari had responded to his message. Krath heard it too. He grabbed the terminal from Day's pocket and checked it. "So you already told the princess," Krath said thoughtfully. "Unfortunate. We will have to accelerate our timeline." He turned to his guards. "Kill him. Make it look like an accident. I will handle Princess Nari personally." The guards raised their weapons. Day closed his eyes. This was it. He had survived so much, only to die in some maintenance room in the station's lower levels. At least he had tried. At least he had warned Nari. The sound of energy weapons charging filled the small room. Day waited for pain that never came. Instead, he heard screams. He opened his eyes. The guards were on the ground, unconscious or dead. Krath lay against the wall, his armor smoking. Standing in the doorway was Nari, and her eyes burned like red stars. Energy crackled around her hands. She looked absolutely terrifying. "You dare," she said in a voice that seemed to echo from everywhere at once. "You dare harm what is mine?" Krath tried to raise his pistol. Nari gestured and the weapon flew from his hand, melting as it crossed the room. She walked toward the ambassador slowly, power radiating from her like heat from a furnace. "Please," Krath gasped. "I was just following orders." The council did not order this. You acted independently out of fear and hatred." Nari's hand closed around Krath's throat. She lifted him off the ground effortlessly. "You planted a bomb that would have killed thousands. You tortured my chosen consort. Give me one reason why I should not end you right now." "Nari," Day managed to say through his broken jaw. "Don't, he is not worth it." She looked at him. For a moment, Day saw something inhuman in her eyes, something ancient and dangerous that had existed before his species even evolved. Then she looked back at Krath and threw him across the room. The ambassador hit the wall and did not get up. Nari knelt beside Day. Her cold hands touched his face gently. "Your jaw is broken. Your body is covered in bruises. I am sorry I did not arrive sooner. You arrived in time. That is what matters." Day tried to smile, but it hurt too much. "We have a bigger problem, the bomb. It is on a timer. I know. I saw your message and came immediately." She helped him to his feet. "Can you walk? Can I fly?" This is not the time for jokes. It is always time for jokes, especially when bombs are involved. Despite everything, Nari laughed. Then she supported him as they made their way back to the power junction, where the disruptor was hidden. Along the way, she contacted station security using her authority as a council member. Real security, not Kareth mercenaries. When they reached the device, Day studied it carefully. This is sophisticated, military grade. The charge has been building for days. If it goes off, it will create a chain reaction through the power grid. The entire upper half of the station will be destroyed. Can you disarm it? Maybe, probably not. This is way beyond basic engineering. He looked at the timer display. We have 4 hours before it detonates. We need to evacuate the station. Too many people. It would take days to evacuate everyone safely. There are over 50,000 beings on Zenith Prime right now. Day wiped blood from his mouth and tried to think. We need to stop the bomb or redirect the explosion. But I don't know how. Nari studied the device. Starborn technology uses stellar energy. We can manipulate power at a fundamental level. Perhaps I can drain the charge, store it in myself, and release it safely. That would kill you? Perhaps. But it would. Savdi spent 5 days in the medical bay recovering from his injuries. His jaw had to be reconstructed. His ribs were cracked. The doctors were amazed he had stayed conscious as long as he did. They kept saying humans had remarkable pain tolerance, as if that was some kind of compliment. Nari visited him every day. Sometimes she sat in silence, watching him with those red eyes. Other times she talked about Starborn history or asked questions about human culture. Slowly, Day realized that she was as curious about him as he was about her. On the 6th day, Council Speaker Tal visited personally. The old alien looked tired. "The investigation is complete," he said. Ambassador Krath acted with support from a faction within the Kareth Empire and 3 other species. They believed a human Starborn alliance would upset the balance of galactic power. Were they right? Day asked. Tal was silent for a moment. Probably. But balance maintained through fear and suppression is not real peace. It is just controlled conflict waiting to explode. He looked at Nari. "Your bonding ceremony is scheduled for tomorrow, Princess. Unless you wish to delay further?" "No more delays," Nari said firmly. "We have waited long enough." After Tal left, Day tried to sit up, but pain stopped him. "Are you sure?" "We could wait until I am fully healed. You are healed enough. The bonding will help with the rest." She took his hand. Her cold touch was becoming familiar, almost comforting. "Are you afraid?" "Terrified," Day admitted. "You said the bonding might kill us. That is a pretty good reason to be scared." "I am afraid too," Nari confessed. "I have existed for 3,000 years. I have seen civilizations rise and fall. I have stood in the heart of stars and walked through the void between galaxies. But tomorrow I will attempt something no Starborn has ever done. I will try to bond with a species so different from my own that it should be impossible. When you put it that way, it sounds even worse." She smiled slightly. "We could still stop. I could release you from this obligation. You have already done more than anyone could ask. You passed the trials. You exposed a conspiracy. You saved thousands of lives. You do not owe me anything more." Day thought about it. He could walk away, return to Earth, go back to hauling cargo and living a simple life. Part of him wanted exactly that. The safe choice. The smart choice. But another part of him, the part that had survived ice ages and plagues and wars, the stubborn human part that refused to quit, wanted to see this through. "I am not going anywhere," he said. "We started this together. We finish it together." The next day they brought Day to the ceremonial chamber on a floating stretcher. He insisted on wearing the formal Earth clothing that someone had found for him, a simple black suit that felt strange after weeks in station clothes. His body still hurt, but the doctors had given him something for the pain. The chamber was circular and massive, with walls made of something that looked like crystal. Hundreds of witnesses filled the space, including ambassadors, council members, and representatives from dozens of species. Security was heavy after the assassination attempt. Armed guards stood at every entrance. At the center of the room was a raised platform surrounded by a field of energy that shimmered like heat waves. Nari already stood there wearing a dress that seemed to be made of starlight itself. She looked more alien and beautiful than ever. Speaker Tal addressed the crowd. "We are here to witness the bonding of Princess Nari of the Starborn Imperium and Day of Earth. This union has been challenged, tested, and nearly destroyed by those who feared change. But by ancient law and personal choice it will proceed. Let all present witness and accept." Guards helped Day onto the platform. The energy field tingled against his skin. When he stood next to Nari, she took both his hands in hers. Her skin was even colder than usual, and he could feel power radiating from her. "This is the point of no return," she whispered so only he could hear. "Once we begin, the bonding cannot be stopped. We either succeed or we die trying." "No pressure," Day joked weakly. His heart was pounding so hard he thought it might explode. A Starborn elder approached, an ancient being even older than Nari. His skin was almost transparent, showing the energy that pulsed beneath. He raised his hands and the energy field around the platform grew brighter. "The bonding requires complete trust," the elder said. "You must open yourselves to each other fully. No barriers, no secrets, no protection. Your life forces will merge. If successful, you will become something new. If unsuccessful, the energy backlash will destroy you both. Begin," Nari said. The elder started chanting in a language so old that Day's translator could not interpret it. The energy field began to pulse in rhythm with the chant. Nari's eyes started to glow brighter. Day felt heat building in his chest, spreading through his body. Then the pain hit. It felt like every cell in his body was being pulled apart and put back together. Day screamed, but no sound came out. He tried to pull away from Nari, but his hands were locked to hers by forces he could not see. Energy crackled between them, red and gold mixing together. Through the pain, Day felt something impossible. He was not just feeling his own body anymore. He could feel Nari's presence, her thoughts, her memories. 3,000 years of existence flooded into his mind. He saw stars being born and dying. He saw the Starborn Empire at its height, spanning galaxies. He saw the slow decline as her species lost the ability to change, to grow, to adapt, and Nari was experiencing him. She felt his 28 years of life, his childhood on a rough station, his mother working 3 jobs to keep them alive, his time in the Defense Force, the fear, the hope, the stubborn determination to keep going no matter what. She felt what it meant to be human, to know you would die in less than a century, but to fight for every moment anyway. Their life forces began to merge. It was like 2 different songs trying to harmonize. Nari's energy was ancient, cold, controlled. Day's was young, hot, chaotic. They should not fit together. The patterns were too different. The energy field started to collapse. The bonding was failing. Day felt it happening. His body was tearing itself apart. Nari's grip on his hands was the only thing keeping him from flying away into nothingness. He could see terror in her eyes. She felt it too. They were dying. No, Day thought. Not like this. Not after everything. He focused every bit of stubborn human will he possessed. If their energies would not naturally harmonize, he would force them to. He reached deeper into the bond, ignoring the pain, ignoring the warnings his body was screaming. He grabbed onto Nari's life force and refused to let go. Nari felt what he was doing. It should have been impossible. The bonding was a natural process. You could not force it through will alone. But Day was human, and humans specialized in doing impossible things through sheer stubbornness. She matched his determination. If he refused to give up, she would too. Her cold energy wrapped around his hot chaos. Instead of trying to smooth out the differences, she embraced them. Fire and ice, order and chaos, ancient and young. Something clicked. The energy patterns aligned in a way that should not have worked but did. The pain transformed into something else, something almost pleasant. Day felt power flowing through him, changing him at a fundamental level. His DNA was being rewritten, incorporating aspects of Starborn biology. He could feel it happening, feel himself becoming something more than human. At the same time, Nari gasped. She was changing too. Human adaptability, human creativity, human determination was flooding into her ancient patterns. For the first time in thousands of years, her genetic code was actually changing. She was becoming something more than Starborn. The energy field around them exploded outward in a wave of light. Everyone in the chamber was knocked back. Alarm screamed. The platform cracked under the force. But at the center, Day and Nari stood together, still holding hands, glowing with combined energy. Slowly, the light faded. The energy settled. Day opened eyes that now had tiny flecks of red mixed with the brown. Nari's skin was no longer pure white. It had taken on a very faint warmth, the barest hint of human color. Did it work? Day asked. His voice sounded different, stronger. Nari smiled. Her teeth seemed sharper than before. Look for yourself. Day looked at his hands. They still looked human, but there was something different. He could feel energy flowing through him in ways that were not normal. He could sense the life forces of everyone in the chamber, small flames of existence. And Nari's presence was inside him. A cold, bright star that would always be there. I can feel you, he whispered. Inside me. Is that normal? That is the bond. We are connected now, forever. She reached up and touched his face. How do you feel? Different, stronger, like I could run a marathon or fight an army. He flexed his hands. And I can sense things I never could before. Life energy. It is everywhere. The Starborn elder approached slowly, looking shocked. Impossible. The bonding succeeded. You have created something new. A hybrid. The first true hybrid between Starborn and any other species. The crowd erupted in discussion. Some shouted in celebration. Others protested. But Day barely heard them. He was too focused on the changes he could feel happening in his body. His broken ribs were healing rapidly. His reconstructed jaw felt perfect. The Starborn healing factor was already working. There. 3 months after the bonding ceremony, Day stood in the Galactic Council chamber and tried not to feel out of place. He wore formal clothing that someone had designed specifically for him, a mix of Earth and Starborn styles. His hand rested in Nari's cold grip. The bond between them was still new, still strange, but growing stronger every day. The council chamber was filled to capacity. Representatives from hundreds of species watched as Speaker Tao prepared to make an announcement that would reshape galactic politics. The investigation into the conspiracy against the bonding is complete, Tal announced. Ambassador Krath and 17 others have been found guilty of terrorism, attempted mass murder, and crimes against council law. The Kareth Empire has issued formal apologies and paid reparations, but the damage cannot be undone. We nearly lost Princess Nari, along with thousands of innocent beings because some of us feared change more than we valued life. The chamber was silent. Day could sense the life forces around him now, a gift from the bonding. He felt shame from some ambassadors, anger from others, and fear from many. Humanity has proven itself worthy of full council membership, Tal continued. Dai of Earth passed impossible trials, exposed a conspiracy, saved this station from destruction, and successfully bonded with a member of the oldest species in the galaxy. The motion to grant Earth full council status passes with majority support. Half the chamber erupted in applause. The other half sat in stony silence. Beside Day, Ambassador Hana from Earth stood up with tears in her eyes. She was a small woman with gray hair and a strong presence. She had been fighting for Earth's recognition for 20 years. Thank you, Hana said, her voice carrying through the chamber. Humanity accepts this honor with humility and determination. We know we are young by galactic standards. We know we have much to learn. But we also know we have much to offer. We bring fresh perspectives, new ideas, and a stubborn refusal to accept impossible odds. Some ambassadors laughed at that. Others nodded in agreement. After the ceremony, Day and Nari met with Hana in a private room. The ambassador hugged Day tightly. You stupid brave boy. Do you have any idea what you have done? You changed human history. Every child born on Earth from now on will learn your name. I just did what I had to do, Day said, feeling embarrassed. That is what makes you perfect, Hana said. You never tried to be a hero. You just kept surviving, kept fighting, kept refusing to give up. That is the most human thing possible, Nari smiled. He is also quite stubborn. That too, Hana agreed. She looked at both of them seriously. The bonding worked better than anyone expected. We have received over 5,000 requests from humans wanting to meet Starborn partners. The Starborn Imperium has agreed to consider applications. This could change both our species. It already has, Nari said. She placed a hand on her stomach in a gesture that made Day's heart skip. The bonding did more than just connect us. It made reproduction possible. I am carrying the first Starborn human hybrid child. Day stared at her. What? When were you going to tell me? I just found out yesterday. I wanted to be sure. She looked nervous for the first time since he had met her. Are you upset? Upset? I am terrified! I know nothing about babies, especially alien hybrid babies that might be able to feed on stars or something. Hana laughed. You will figure it out. Humans always do. The news spread quickly. Within hours, the entire galaxy knew that Princess Nari was pregnant. Scientists immediately began requesting permission to study the pregnancy. Politicians debated what it meant for human-Starborn relations. Religious groups argued about whether it was natural or an abomination. Day ignored all of it. He had more important things to worry about, like the fact that he was going to be a father, like the fact that his child would be the first of a new hybrid species, like the fact that he needed to call his mother and explain everything that had happened. That conversation was exactly as difficult as he expected. You did what? His mother shouted through the video call. You bonded with an alien princess? You are pregnant? Well, she is pregnant, but you know what I mean. Mom, please calm down. Calm down? My son is married to royalty from a species that existed before humans even discovered fire. How am I supposed to be calm? You could try being happy for me? His mother was silent for a moment. Then she smiled. The same smile she used to give him when he was a child and did something both stupid and brave. Of course I am happy, you fool. I am also terrified. But that is what being a parent is about. Fear and pride mixed together. After the call, Day felt better. His mother would visit soon. She wanted to meet Nari and help prepare for the baby. The thought of his practical, tough mother meeting his ancient vampire princess girlfriend was both amusing and terrifying. Over the following weeks, Day and Nari began preparing for their future. They could not stay on Zenith Prime forever. Nari suggested they visit Earth so she could understand human culture better. Day agreed, though the thought of bringing her to his home world made him nervous. Earth was rough compared to advanced alien worlds. Would she see humans as primitives after all? They took Dai's cargo ship, now upgraded with Starborn technology. The old ship could barely make it between systems before. Now it could cross the galaxy in days. As they approached Earth, Day looked at his home world with new eyes. The blue and green planet seemed so small, so fragile, but it was beautiful in its own way. Nari stood beside him, staring at Earth with fascination. This is where your species evolved. This small world? Small but tough, Day said. Earth tried to kill us in every way possible. Ice ages, plagues, volcanic eruptions, asteroid impacts. We survived it all. I can feel the life force from here. It burns so brightly, like billions of tiny fires refusing to go out. She placed a hand on the window. Your species is remarkable, Day. I see that now more than ever. They landed at Europa Station where Day had grown up. His mother met them at the docking bay. She was small but strong, with the same brown eyes as Day. When she saw Nari, she froze for a moment. Then she walked forward and offered her hand. Welcome to our home, Princess Nari. I am G1 Day's mother. Nari took her hand carefully. Please, just call me Nari. I am honored to meet the woman who raised someone as stubborn as your son. G1 laughed. Oh, I like you already. Come, I made food. Real Earth food, not that station nonsense. Over dinner in G1's small apartment, Day watched his mother and Nari talk. They discussed pregnancy, child raising, and the challenges of bonding between different species. G1 treated Nari like any other person, not like ancient royalty. And Nari responded to that respect with warmth that Dai rarely saw her show others. Your mother is wonderful, Nari said later as they walked through Europa Station's lower levels. She has the same fire you do, that determination to survive no matter what. She raised me alone after my father died. It was not easy, but she never gave up. Day pointed to a repair shop with a worn sign. That is her shop. She fixes everything from cargo ships to life support systems. Best mechanic on the station. Nari looked at the small shop with something like respect. She built a life from nothing. She raised a son who would change galactic history, and she did it all without special powers or advanced technology, just human determination. That is what we do, Day said simply. They spent 2 weeks on Earth and the surrounding stations. Nari met human scientists, politicians, ordinary workers, and families. She visited factories where humans built ships with their hands. She saw schools where children learned to read and dream. She experienced human culture in all its chaotic, messy, beautiful complexity. On their last day, they stood on the observation deck of Europa Station, watching Earth rotate below. Nari placed a hand on her stomach where their child grew. I understand now, she said quietly. Why I chose you. Why the bonding worked. Humanity has something my species lost millions of years ago. You have the hunger to grow, to change, to become more than you are. You look at the universe and see possibility instead of limits. We also make a lot of mistakes, Day pointed out. Yes, but you learn from them. You adapt. You survive. She turned to face him. Our child will inherit both our natures, starborn power and human adaptability, ancient knowledge and young determination. They will be something entirely new. They will be trouble, Day joked. Definitely trouble. The best kind of trouble. They returned to Zenith Prime to find the galaxy had changed in their absence. Hundreds of Starborn and humans were beginning courtship, exploring the possibility of bonding. The Starborn Imperium had opened diplomatic channels with Earth, sharing technology and knowledge. Human scientists were learning from beings millions of years old, while Starborn were rediscovering creativity and chaos they had forgotten. Not everyone was happy about the changes. Some species saw humanity's rise as a threat. Others worried about the implications of hybrid species. But slowly the galaxy was adapting to this new reality. 6 months after the bonding ceremony, Ambassador Hana addressed the Galactic Council with a proposal. We have seen the success of the Starborn human bonding. Other species have expressed interest in similar exchanges. What if we created a formal program, a way for different species to learn from each other, to share knowledge and genetics when appropriate? Not forced but encouraged?